So today we're gonna be working on the Grom. So when I got the Grom, it wasn't exactly in the best condition. It's pretty clean, I'm not gonna lie, but it did go down on the left side, so we had some pieces that were broken. And since we gotta replace some pieces anyway, might as well just upgrade them. So today's project is all about lighting. I'm just gonna take care of all the blinkers and the tail light and the new license plate mount that I ordered from TST. So this is the whole kit right here. You've got the new plate underneath, which the tail light goes into. You've got the tail light, flush mount blinkers, all the connectors, hardware, all the stuff that you need to upgrade the Grom. But as you can see, we've kind of got a mess going on right here. This piece right here was actually broken, which was this piece right here. As you can see, that is broken. But we have a replacement piece here, thanks to Frankie. As soon as I got this thing, I knew I needed that piece, so I reached out to the people over at Tampa Grom Squad on their Facebook page, and Frankie reached out and said that he had a set that I could actually have. So big shout out to Frankie. Go follow him on Instagram. He does some paint work and stuff like that. He's a wheelie guy. Seems like a cool dude. So again, the nice thing about all of TST Industries stuff is that they do these tutorial videos that are super in-depth and kind of help you along the way. And that makes it super simple to put all these parts on. Especially on this Grom, this 2020 Grom, you actually got to modify the back end a little bit. You got to do some cutting and whatnot, but they do a good job of showing you exactly how to do it in the tutorial video. So first thing you would do is actually take these covers off. This one goes on this side, kind of like that. I already took all this stuff off because it was broken, or at least the other side was broken. Once you take these off, your blinkers are gonna be here. There's just gonna be a bolt and nut that kind of hold that on. You're gonna undo that, you're gonna pull the wires through, and your stock blinkers are gonna be out. And then you're just gonna push these little rubber grommets out. There's just rubber. You just gotta push those things out. And then once you get those pushed out, that's what you're gonna be left with. It's just that little hole right there. And we'll go ahead and install the blinkers. The front's gonna be super easy. It's gonna be a relay and your two blinkers. And keep in mind that this kit is not gonna give you the running lights that the stock setup has. This bypasses that, so they only work when you're using your blinker. Not exactly sure why they do it that way. I don't know if it's just cost or what, but that's just the way it is. All right, so that's what your blinker looks like. It's a nice flush mount. I actually went with the smoked one. Then your other components are gonna be these little nylon nuts and washers, and obviously your factory connects. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna fish our wires through there, and then we're gonna fasten them from the back side. Real simple. So let me do that real quick. And another thing to point out is you can't really mess this up as far as shape goes and the direction. There's a certain shape around this where that blinker actually goes onto, and the shape of the blinker. So they kind of match up. So if you did the shape game as a kid, you could probably figure this out. All right, so that's what it's gonna look like once you get it on there. Just center it up the best you can, and that's what the backside looks like. I don't know how I feel about this whole connecting piece in here with everything being nylon, but we'll see. I could see it coming loose. I might put some glue on there just to hold it in place a little bit better, but it's in there. All right, we got the other side done, just the same. And I'm not using any tools for this. I literally just hand tightened it because it's already bowing that washer. I don't want to tighten it. I don't want to over tighten it. So we're just gonna do that, see how it holds on. Again, I might come back through here and put some glue on it because I don't know how well that's gonna hold up. Then once you get those put in, you got these little connectors, kind of hard to mess them up, match up the colors, and then you've got a factory connector right there, which we'll get to in a second. All right, and then once you get the those factory connectors on there, they're gonna plug in right there. So real simple, you don't have to do any wire splicing, you don't have to do any soldering or anything. It's just a nice little direct fit. Now we've got those pieces back on to the bike. We've got one more thing before we actually connect this whole thing up. And that's this little relay that we need to replace. Since we're going from old style bulb to the LEDs, we actually need to replace the relay so that the blinkers function properly. And inside of this, if you really wanted to, you could change how fast or slow the blink actually happens on your blinkers. There's just a little twist thing in here. I'm not gonna open it up, but you can kind of see it, I guess. But yeah, if you ever wanna change that, you can do it all from inside here. And this little relay here is going to replace this one right here. So we're gonna rip that one out real quick, plug this one in. All right, so there's a new relay right there. It took about 3 seconds to do it. There's no clips or anything. It literally just pops right in there, super simple. And now before we put this all back together, we're actually gonna start the bike. Or not start it, but at least give it some power. Let's hit a blinker. What side's the blinker on? It's hard when you're doing it in reverse. So there's the blinker, looks good. Check the other side, looks good. All right, so now we can put this thing back together. So we got the front back on, and I just wanna give a few pointers if I could. So these pieces are held on by these little screw bolt things, and then underneath you have another little clip. I don't know if you can see that, but the best thing to do is to get all of these started. Get all these little bolts started, and then try to align everything else, and it'll all come together. I just fought it for a couple minutes, but it's on there now. Looks pretty good. My gaps are a little off because I'm pretty sure my brackets on this side are bent from when it went down, but that's how it looks. Looks much better. We'll turn the key on. We still got that blinker on. Do the other blinker. So that's what you're gonna get. Perfect. Right now, to take care of all of this mess here, you already took the seat off. Now we gotta take these panels off here. And yeah, so I'm gonna tear all this down and I'll be back in a second. Some of these little screws in here that are under here are in there pretty good. So before you get wrenching on it, stick your screwdriver in there and tap it with a hammer a little bit just to loosen it up a little bit while you're turning. That way you don't strip that baby out. So to get this out, you've got some 10 mil bolts right there. You've got these little clips right there and those little rubber grommets. And then you've got a screw there, and then 2 screws on the bottom side that you have to pull out, and then this whole piece just kind of comes off. The next thing, once we have all that out of the way, we're going to remove this, which is the stock tail light. Just these 2 little nuts right there. We're gonna pop those off. And once you get that loose, you're gonna follow that blue wire all the way down here. And tucked down here, you're gonna find a little quick disconnect. We're gonna disconnect that real quick. We got the tail light out, and then we've got all these quick disconnects that run to your blinkers, your license plate light, all that stuff. So we're gonna go ahead, to remove these, there's some extra nuts and bolts that are right underneath, real simple to get to. You can feel it right there where my finger is. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the rest of all this junk so we can get into the install of the new stuff. We've got a pile of parts over there, and we've cleaned up everything up here. But this is where the fun starts. So the trip sensor for the Grom is actually in the tail section. So we have to cut that out, and we're gonna have to remount that in a different position. And on this bike, it's gonna be a little bit different because it is an ABS model, so I don't have as much space up under the seat. So we're gonna have to figure that out when we get to that point. So down in here, this is the trip sensor right here. And ultimately what we have to do is the metal subframe ends right here, and we gotta cut all of this off so that we can use the new underside from TST. So what they're telling me that I need to do is basically take a knife and cut around this whole thing where the trip sensor is. So we only need to cut to about right there, and the bubble comes back a little bit further. I'm not entirely sure why we gotta cut the whole thing out, but I'm just gonna follow their instructions, and I'm assuming there's a reason why we gotta get rid of the entire thing. In fact, it's probably because the new plate that goes on there, now that I'm looking at it, looks like this, and if that bubble is in the way, that thing's not gonna sit flush. All right, so that's the piece, and there we've got our trip sensor tucked in there. And now I know it seems a little crazy to use just a razor blade to cut through this, but this plastic's extremely soft, so you just gotta score it a couple times, and it's gonna cut through like butter. As long as you have a sharp blade, you'll be good to go. Now that we've got that hole there, now we gotta cut off this extra stuff right here. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see in this video, but there's a metal subframe that goes to about right there. So we're gonna cut all of this off. And we're gonna use the same process. We're not gonna use anything special. We're just gonna use a simple razor blade, if I can find it. We're just gonna use this. Now that we've got that all cut off, just be mindful there's these little clips right here that are gonna be holding on your underside, so you just don't wanna cut those off. Now that we got access to the trip sensor, we're gonna relocate that. And with the trip sensor off, there's still this bracket right here, which is going to be in the way of this new piece. So what we gotta do is we're just gonna take that, we're just gonna bend it in a little bit. We're gonna grab a screwdriver, just like that. We're just gonna bend it in, get it up out of the way. And then just be mindful of your seat release that's underneath of this as well. There's some springs and some mechanisms in there that you don't want to get in the way of. So just make sure that by bending that in, you're not hitting any of that stuff. Alright, another thing to keep in mind when you're doing the tip sensor relocation is that there is an ABS model and there's a non-ABS model. Make sure that you specify that when you're ordering your kit. And the reason for that is because typically the non-ABS sensor would go right in this area right here. But with the ABS model, you're going to have all your ABS junk kind of taking up all that space. So thankfully I ordered the correct one. I ordered the ABS version, which is actually going to utilize this metal strap right here that holds the battery in. So we're going to disconnect the battery, and that's going to go through this little hole right here, and then at the end of it, it's going to sit about right there. Okay, so as you can see, we just took this strap here, put it through this little hole right here, and now the tip sensor is located right on the front of the battery. Now we've got to take this wire here, we got to reroute this up underneath here someplace. Right, so we just fed it in through there, and then we're just literally just gonna plug it in, start the bike, make sure that she still runs. We got fuel pump, still runs, so we didn't mess anything up, so that's a plus. Right, and the next piece is gonna be this undertail section right here, which is just gonna kind of fit in there like that. This is going to be an easy installation. We've got this hardware right here that they sent with everything. We're going to use one of those screws, a washer, and a nut, and that's going to hold everything on. So I'm going to get that fastened up real quick. Okay, so we've got the bottom piece in place, which looks really, really good. Looks much better than what the factory one looked like. Now we just got to install the tail light here, which this really just slides into place like that. Then we're gonna grab these little screws right here. We're gonna fasten those right into the back, and that'll be secure. Once this is installed, we're gonna take these wires that come off of the taillight itself, and we're gonna run it where the factory wires went, right down here. And then we actually use the little connector piece that TST supplied. So it's gonna, since this is integrated, we need to take all of our brake lights and our blinkers and put them into one harness right here, which is what this little thing does. So as you can see, I'm plugged in down there and right there into our factory connections, and then this leads to our new TST Industries tail light. Then we can just tuck all this stuff down in there, just get out of the way. And then once again, after doing any type of wiring, turn the bike on, make sure you got power, everything looks good. We're gonna double check it with our brake. We'll check our blinkers because it's integrated. Turn the bike off. So we've got all the lights taken care of on the bike, all the wiring's done. I take that back. We actually have one more light that we have to do, and that's for the license plate. And I'm not quite sure how that works yet, but we're gonna figure that out. Alright, so what I just realized is that the low mount for the license plate actually uses the same factory holes that we used to put this on. So what I'm going to have to do is remove these two screws right here. That way we can attach this onto the bike. Once we get the license plate bracket installed, we go to the license plate light. This is a universal one. Got some wires, obviously, that we got to run to the bike. This is pretty simple. It just goes to this little triangle right there. And there's actually an opening under here that's going to go up into under the seat. So when you push that wire through, it's going to come through here. You have all this slack here. And then they send you these little connectors that you're going to splice into these wires here, which are typically, I'm assuming, your blinker. So it's using the power off of that. So when you turn the bike on, all right, we are finally almost done with this project. All I gotta do, I'm gonna tighten up some wires, I'm gonna clean some stuff up a little bit, but everything's installed. All the lights work, everything looks good. I'm gonna put the rest of the plastics back on, kind of button it up, and then we'll take a look at it outside and see how good these lights actually work. All right, so the Grom is finally done. Well, sort of. It's not completely done, but we got all the lights on. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did. So here's what we did. We got rid of all the factory tail end stuff. We did the integrated TST Industries tail light, which is amazing. I'm gonna show you in a second here when I take it outside. We got the low mount for the license plate with the license plate light. And then on the front, we did these flush mounts for the turn signals up here, which look a lot better than those big Dumbo ears that come with it. back is integrated. It's kind of hard to see in this video, but it is blinking on the right side. So that's that. That's the Grom with all the TST parts on it. I'm actually pretty impressed with how easy it was, even though we had to modify some of the plastic and stuff like that. The process was super simple. Again, thanks to TST for putting out a kit like this and supplying the to-do videos online like they do. They make this stuff extremely simple, and it makes a big difference to our bike. So if you've got a 2020 Grom and you're looking to upgrade the look of it, check out this kit. It's worth it. Anyway, I'm gonna go for a ride real quick. I'll see you guys next time.
She want me to lock it down, but I told her to pass the key. You gotta slow it down, girl, you moving too fast for me. Nobody did it like this, so they wonder, they asking me if I can slow it down, cause it's coming too fast for me. Baby, don't try it, just stop it. You should know that I got options. I be fly like I live in the cockpit, mess around with the